There are four domains in life that a woman must never neglect if she truly wants to maximize her potential and get the most out of her human experience. These four domains are as follows: one, spiritual currency; two, intellectual currency; three, social currency; and four, beauty currency. If you are not actively pouring into all of these domains in your life, you are leaving so much on the table and you're not going to actualize your potential. We're going to start with the most important one of all, which is spiritual currency. In anyone's life, this should be the number one priority because once you prioritize that, everything else will fall in line. Having spiritual currency is the understanding that life is not only comprised of the physical. Your body is just a vessel. A lot of what you're seeing happening around you is a culmination of what is actually happening in the spiritual realm. So when you have spiritual currency, you are aware of that fact. You are navigating life, understanding that you are in a vessel having a spiritual experience, period, point blank. You understand that things are not just face value, they shouldn't be taken as face value. And when you neglect the spiritual aspect of life, you're essentially walking around with a blindfold on. You're able to navigate, you're able to move forward, but you don't have the full picture. I love the verse where Allah says, and don't be like those who forgot about Allah, and so Allah made them forget about themselves, because it rings true in what we see amongst women and what we see amongst society as a whole every single day. People are not connected to who they truly are. This is where you see sheep mentality. You see crazy trend following. You see people who are engaged in toxic dynamics, toxic relationships, because they're so disconnected from God that they became disconnected from themselves. With high spiritual currency, your priorities are completely different than the average person's because one, you have the full picture in mind. You understand that there is one goal that should be on top. The ultimate goal is to do so much good in this life that you are setting yourself up for success not only here, but in the next life. That top priority then shapes and trickles down to every other thing in habit, behavior, choice in your life. This leads you to operating on a high frequency of positivity, creativity, joy, expansion, doing good works in this earth that are truly needed. Through connection with God, you get a new definition of yourself that isn't defined or tainted by society, your family, whatever is expected of you or deemed as normal. Your heart becomes pure. You start attracting opportunities, connections, and habits that are aligned with who you really are at your core. Here are some ways you can tell a lack of spiritual currency. One, you lack a clear purpose or mission in life. Now, as life goes on, this will change or elevate or update, but a clear sign of a lack in spiritual currency is walking around life feeling purposeless. You have a unclarity in direction. You don't really know what to go, and it changes based on what you see around you. So whatever you see working for someone else, now that's your mission in life to strive similarly. Whatever is the trending mindset, that's what you're going towards. That shows a lack in spiritual currency because everybody on earth has a unique gift, a unique perspective, a unique addition to this world. So when you're feeling as if you can't identify that, or you have no clue what your unique specialty is, or some people ascribe to the belief of, you know what, I'm just here to be here. And whatever that means to you, it can look different, but everyone on earth was gifted something, whether it was something to contribute to society as a whole, whether it's something to contribute to your family, your lineage, whether it was something to contribute to your line of work, whatever industry you're in. God gave you something that is unique. And if you are walking around life feeling purposeless, you don't understand what's the meaning of it all, you're having these existential questionings, that is a sign of a lack of spiritual currency, and you need to address that to get to the next level. This is because your connection with God is directly tied to your connection with yourself. And don't be like those who forgot about Allah, and so He made them forget about themselves. When you're connected to the source, when you're connected to who created you, who created the earth, who created this realm, you're connected to infinite wisdom. You are able to receive inspiration. He will guide you truly to who you are because He strips away society's definitions of you. So, a sign of a low spiritual currency is feeling purposeless. 2, you get confused about the poor behaviors of others. Now, it is human nature to be hurt or be offended by whatever poor behavior or whatever slights you see happening to you or around you. But when you're genuinely confused or it's really warping your worldview, when you see someone who is behaving in a way that's asinine, that is a sign of low spiritual currency, because when you understand the fundamentals of life, right? There's God, and then there's this realm. He gifted us all souls. Our ultimate enemy on this realm is the devil, the shaitan. And of course, he moves through causing conflict, causing evil, causing disruption, interruptions in the family system. All of these harmful constructs and behaviors are a culmination of what's happening behind the scenes in the realm in which we can't see, but we can feel, right? So when you're confused about when you see people behaving abusively, yes, there are some psychological aspects, but the spiritual aspects are too real to ignore. So when you find yourself confused of why did this person do this to me, or I can't believe that a person would behave in such and such a way, that's showing right there that you're not fully understanding what is going on here. So when you're walking around confused, you're feeling hurt, everything feels personal to you, you don't understand, you're starting to become hard-hearted, you're starting to become angry, that's a lack of spiritual currency. You don't fully understand the game that we're playing here. And it's not for the now, it's for the long run. Where are you going to end up after this life ends? That's the long run. The third symptom of a low spiritual currency is that you know better, but you don't do better. This is one of the key signs because it happens to all of us, right? We oftentimes know whether an environment is good for us, whether a behavior is good for us, a vice. We know internally, we know there's scientific facts, there's religious facts, there's moral facts and beliefs against a certain thing. And you know it and you believe it to be true, but your actions and your beliefs don't correlate. That is a sign of a low spiritual currency. Another sign of low spiritual currency is that you outsource autonomy and decision making. This happens so much, especially amongst women, and I hate to say, because society has coached a lot of women to not trust their intuition. God gave us an intuition, and I believe it's because God chose women to be the vessel that brings life into this earth. He creates a baby in our wombs. He instills the soul in our wombs. So we have a direct connection with God and His wisdom physically. And so society has taught women to outsource their autonomy, outsource their wisdom. And you see this in communities of women. You see it in friend groups. You see it amongst families. Women feel that they need to involve everyone else in their decision making but themselves. They don't trust themselves. They rely on others for validation. All of these are signs of a low spiritual currency, and it's not limited to women. We see this amongst men as well, but I'm speaking from the female experience because we see it every day. And there's a difference between outsourcing your autonomy versus mutual consultation. Mutual consultation is a good thing. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ used to do it. It's encouraged to not rely on your own whims or your own point of view because you may be missing a certain angle that mutual consultation, asking your friend, asking your family member, can provide you a different perspective that adds to your wisdom on a certain situation. So that's mutual consultation. You have an idea, you think about it, you pray about it, you come to a decision, and you ask for an opinion of someone who you trust, who you know has wisdom, and you're open to their ideas. At the end of that, You're still trusting your intuition to ultimately make the decision. You're trusting God to lead you to the correct decision at the end of the day after you've intaken that. That's mutual consultation. Outsourcing your autonomy and decision making is something completely different. This looks like you get a job opportunity. You see a job opportunity that's in your field on your LinkedIn page, right? Before you can even fully research the company, look at the full listing, you're already calling up your mom or calling up your homegirl and saying, hey, should I apply to this job? Da, 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 da. And your decision is going to completely rely on whatever feedback you're getting from that person, right? You didn't ask Allah, you didn't pray about it, you didn't even think about it, you didn't do your own research about it, but now your decision is going to rely on whatever another person has to say. That is a sign you're lacking spiritual currency, because when you're connected with Allah, He gives you a certain fortitude within yourself. You know that the ultimate guidance is going to come from Allah, and you know that because your connection with Allah is so tight and you're constantly in communication and you're constantly receiving downloads and wisdom, you start to develop a trust towards yourself. An example of this, another example is people who have a business idea. You want to pursue a certain industry. And so you start researching and you're really interested and you're developing your own little marketing assets and you're starting to build the skeletons of your business. And then you go and you speak to, let's say, your grandma about it. And she's like, no, sweetie, I don't think you should do that because X, X, Y, and Z. Now your dreams are crushed and you decide to not do it at all. You didn't ask Allah, you didn't verify, you feel within yourself what the right choice is, but now after the conversation, you don't know, you're out of touch with that. That is signs of outsourcing your autonomy and decision making, and thus a lack of spiritual currency. And the final sign is feeling like you need others to survive, aka Allah is not enough for you. Now, we are human beings and we are wired for connection. We want to see others, we want to feel seen, we want to feel accepted, and we want to feel a rapport between ourselves and others. That is the human experience, it's a core human need, and we need to have that connections with others. But when you are deeply connected to God, you understand that every season has a reason. And let me explain what I mean by that. There are going to be seasons in your life where you may not have the romance that you want. You may not have the friends that you desire or that you see others have. You might be put in a season by God where it's just you and Him. And during those times, that is a core sign that He wants to bring you close. He wants to show you something. He wants to teach you something. He wants to mold you without the influence of others. And so when you have that, when you're rich in spiritual currency, you fully surrender and trust to that. You're not clinging to people. You're not feeling a deep lack, even if you do aspire to have any sort of relationship in the future. You're not feeling that lack because you're connected to the one who loves you the most. And you understand that whatever He doesn't have presently in front of you, it's just not what He ordained for that moment, and you trust that. So when you have that currency, you're not latching on to people who you know aren't serving you. You're not tolerating abuse. A lot of people tolerate poor behaviors, or they know that the friends that they have aren't really their ideal type of person, right? They know that the partner that they're with is not the partner they want to be with in 15 years, right? They know those things, but because they're lacking spiritual currency, they aren't trusting God enough for it to just be, hey, me and you. They're not trusting God enough to say, hey, if I let this go and I just focus my time on whatever God has in front of me during this season, eventually He will bring aligned people. Eventually He will bring that dream romance, that romance that's best for me. He will bring that close friend who can be a companion for me. And when He does bring it, I'll know it's directly from Him because it'll bless my life. But when you're lacking currency, that looks like holding on to toxicity. That's nonsense. That's nonsense to be in a relationship that you know is harming you, or your soulmate isn't going to have you crying every single night. We know these things, but the lack in spiritual connection and the lack in spiritual currency is showing a gaps in, again, what we believe in how we act. So here are some things you can do today to maximize your spiritual currency. 1, understand that life is both physical and spiritual, and that whatever you do in the physical will have either a positive or negative consequence in the spiritual realm. 2, intentionally connect with God all throughout your day. 3, understand that everyone around you and yourself are only operating on the frequency that reflects the level of spiritual currency they have. So if a person's not connected spiritually, they're not connected to God, they have little regard for God, they have little regard for anything other than what you can see right in front of you, understand that the way that they navigate, the way that they behave towards you is going to reflect that. And finally, 4, do everything with the intention of pleasing God and spreading good throughout the earth. If you do all of this, you'll gain an understanding of the world that most people do not have. So I just want to wrap up everything by saying all of this is said with love. This is the human experience. This is what we see in life. And it is never too late to turn back to Allah, turn back to God, connect with Him, and allow Him to open your eyes and give you a new lens, a full lens. So I have a little bit of homework for you. After you finish watching this video, I want you to take 10 minutes tonight, at least. Take 10 minutes tonight and sit in silence. Have no phone, no TV. Sit in silence and talk to God. Ask Him and say, Ya Allah, oh God, guide me to who you want me to be. And He will answer. Trust me. Thank you, Queens, for watching. I love you. See you in the next video, inshallah.